There's points where my power was shut off, and then my car ended up getting repossessed. Like the same car that's in the original pictures on Instagram from when I first started posting, there's a point where the cars changed, and that was because that car got repossessed. And nobody would ever know that. Not many, I would probably count on maybe 2 hands how many people know that, just because that's not something to be super proud of. But as I sat on the curb and I like called one of my friends to come pick me up, he's like, dude, are you okay? Like, this is crazy. Are you okay? And I said, you know what? Things could always be worse. And as simple as that statement was, I think that that set the tone for the rest of my life and how I was going to decide to live moving forward. It was a big wake-up call. Like, that was a wake-up call where I feel like my life got insanely better after that moment. Have fun and be yourself. That's the key to life, right? Okay. I love this question. Who are you? It's one of my favorite questions because you could approach it as like, who am I? What do I do for work? What is my career? And I give an answer when someone asks me, who am I? The only answer that comes to my mind is like, I'm me. Like, I know that's so silly to say because not everyone would understand that, but I'll give a better answer for people that don't know. My name is Alex Moe. I'm better known on social media as the Macro Barista. I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a dog dad, I'm a boyfriend. For my career, I'm a full-time content creator. My niche is coffee. So not just coffee though, it's like health-based coffee recipes. That is what I do as far as career goes. But what I do elsewise, I love the outdoors. I snowboard, anything extreme, snowboard, skateboard, surfing, whatever. I play sports, any sport you can think of, you name it. Anything active or athletic, that is my jam. Yeah, that sums it up. You share low-calorie drinks and healthier alternatives online, but what is the deeper mission behind what you're doing? Man, so I started making like low-calorie, healthy coffee recipes almost a decade ago in 2017, and I never meant for it to become a thing. I never meant for it to become like part of my identity. I really did it because I was starting my own health journey and I was working at Starbucks at the time and I was making protein shakes at work. And one day I decided that I would post on Facebook in this Facebook group, this like health and fitness food tracking Facebook group, like, hey guys, I'm a Starbucks barista and this is what I've been doing at work. And somebody said, hey, you should post this on Instagram. And they're like, Instagram is going to be like the big thing. This was 2017, so Instagram was already established, but this was like right before Instagram went into its like prime, if you ask me. So I posted on Instagram, started gaining a bunch of traction, and like I said, I didn't mean for it to become a thing. I was just sharing these recipes that I was making at work because they were helping me like live a little bit healthier. I was like, okay, well, there's probably a lot of other people that want to make, just a small better choice as well. And I was getting feedback. People were saying, thank you for this. Specifically, I think one of the things that really made me see that it could have an impact was someone. I mean, I ended up getting multiple messages like this, but someone that was diabetic, they messaged me and they're like, hey, I can't drink the normally sugary drinks that Starbucks has. And I drank yours, tested my blood sugar, and it didn't spike it. So thank you so much. Like, it's crazy. Like, they're like, this is life-changing for me. Just because coffee is such a huge part of so many people's day, their ritual, their life, right? So yeah, seeing that something as simple as taking a cup of coffee and making it just a little bit better for you could have such a huge impact on someone's life. That fueled me intrinsically by knowing that I was helping people, because that was always my goal was to just help people in some capacity. I didn't know what that was going to look like. I was just doing things. And turns out, like, posting these low-calorie coffee recipes was able to reach now millions of people. And to this day, the mission has never changed. That's still my goal. Like, my goal is still to see a comment that says, "Thanks for helping me lose weight," or get a DM that says something along those lines. And honestly, that is what keeps me going, because 10 years in the content creation game is a long time. But staying rooted in that initial mission of just trying to help people live a slightly healthier lifestyle, that keeps me grounded. And I feel like that's been able to keep me like relevant or successful to this day. The second part to that question was, why is helping people improve their health so important to you? That's a great question. And I kind of mentioned that I just do stuff it's with intention, but whatever feels right, I just do it. And I've seen all of my own family be overweight and live a lifestyle that keeps them from being active. And, thank God that there's no like serious health issues, but that could take them down a path of, having health issues. And so for me, helping people live a healthier lifestyle just comes from the fact that I know how much better you feel about yourself when you make those choices, like when you look in the mirror and you're happy with your appearance. And I know that stuff can be surface level, but it really comes from like deep within, an acceptance of yourself. But on the surface level, like looking your best does really help your confidence and help make you feel better. And so the whole like helping people live a healthier lifestyle is important to me, just because I want to see everybody be as happy and live as long as they can and most fulfilled, and be able to play with their kids and just live a life full of life. And I think that something as small as the coffee can aid someone in doing so. Okay. You've lived a lot of different lives: joining the military, going broke, driving DoorDash, living in a trailer. How have those experiences shaped the person you are today? Some of this stuff, the internet doesn't even know. Like, my page, at the beginning, it was a lot more personal. I shared a lot more stuff about me. But as time went on, as I turned it into a business, it became a little bit more of like a faceless brand almost. It's funny because I'm in every video, right? But almost like a faceless brand where I'm just like posting recipes. Like, the personality is not gone, but it's definitely not the same as when I would write paragraphs and essays about like what I'm experiencing in life. So a lot of these things most people don't know about me. I have lived a lot of different lives. When I reflect on that and I take perspective, it's just so crazy. I'm just so grateful for every piece and every chapter that I have gone through. From joining the military almost fresh out of high school, I definitely would not have any foundation that I do without that. I was headed down a path of drugs and addiction for sure. That runs strong in my family. And the wake-up call for that was like, hey, you can't live here anymore if you're going to continue to do that. So then I was like, I'm going to get out of here and just join the military. And turns out that really gave me strength in understanding how to live on my own as a man and how to take care of myself as a human being. And then from getting out of the military, just went through a rough transition because I got medically discharged and my plan was never to get out. I just have janky hips, I have like old man hips. And so they decided that I was not fit for deployment, which threw like a big wrench in what I thought was going to be my career. And so after the military, just started going back into party mode, drinking a lot. Was working part-time, living off a small disability, but just way overspending. And there's points where my power was shut off, and then my car ended up getting repossessed. Like the same car that's in the original pictures on Instagram from when I first started posting, there's a point where the cars changed, and that was because that car got repossessed. And nobody would ever know that. Not many, I would probably count on maybe two hands how many people know that. Just because that's not something to be super proud of, but that was a very defining moment for me, because when I was in class in college when that happened, and I walk out of class and the tow truck is in the parking lot, like my car's up on the tow truck, and like there's nothing, once a repo person has your car up, like there's nothing you can do. Like legally, if they get it hooked, like you're done. Like the car's gone. And I sat there and I processed, and as I sat on the curb and I like called one of my friends to come pick me up, he's like, "Dude, are you okay? Like this is crazy. Are you okay?" And I said, "You know what? Things could always be worse." And as simple as that statement was, I think that that set the tone for the rest of my life and how I was going to decide to live moving forward, is that even in the face of something like that, which could send people into a big crash and burn, I was able to just stand there and say, I made my choices. Like, I'm going to sit in this and live in this and choose to move forward from it. And um, it was a big wake up call. Like, that was a wake up call where I feel like my life got insanely better after that moment. From there, I was still doing the content thing, not making any money. And then I moved back. I sold my house that I bought in Texas, moved back to Washington to live in a like 20-foot long trailer on my aunt's property with my 2 dogs so I could save money. I was driving DoorDash and Instacart like 10, 12 hours a day while starting a coffee company. I've always been like a hustler. Like, I'm always going to make it work. That's been just a massive part of something that I know deep within my core, is that I'm always going to make it work, even when I'm down bad. So I did that, and then I moved to Florida, where I was running a coffee company. I had 500,000 plus followers, wasn't making money from social media, and I was still driving DoorDash and Instacart and Grubhub, like app swapping between the three, like 12 hours a day, making decent money because during COVID times, people didn't want to leave their house. And so the rates were higher. People would tip more because they were really grateful that you were like going out, and being in public or whatever. And so doing that for like 2.5 years, again, just showed me that I can grind it out and that I'll figure out a way. So all the different things that I've been through, all the different lives that I've lived, have really just shown me that I am a super strong person. It's crazy. Sometimes you just don't take the time to reflect on what you've actually been through. Because even what I've shared still does not go in depth to all of the things that I've experienced, all the heaviness that has weighed on my heart, that I've felt for other people. And so I'm super grateful for this question to give me a moment to pause and reflect on all the things that I've experienced and how that has built me into the man that I am today. Okay. Talk to me about the tailgate coffee table. What was the goal of those conversations? What was your mission? Why haven't you continued it recently? Tailgate coffee table. The tailgate coffee table was a YouTube/podcast show that I did. I ideated it like back in, 2022. I started shooting the first episodes in 2024. I spent a bunch of money on all the equipment. Like, all the equipment was my own. And then I went on the road, like across the country, and I had an editor and a videographer, and sometimes I would fly the videographer out to shoot wherever I was at. And sometimes I would set it up myself. And the whole point of doing that show was just to meet cool people, have conversation. Drinking a cup of coffee can really get you going as it starts to hit. That was like a common thing that I noticed in the show, is that once we hit like 30-ish minutes and the caffeine was like hitting for the guest, they would really start to open up and we would be able to get a lot deeper. My mission with that was honestly to just go meet people. It was I wouldn't say it was a passion project, but it was more so just something I was doing for myself that I just wanted to share with the world when I did it. Because a lot of the guests that I had on the show, they were people that I've known through the internet for a long time, but had either like never met in person or never had in-depth conversation with. And so my whole purpose and mission with that show was just to connect with other people and go make some experiences in my life. And why have I not continued it recently? So 2025, I shot 7 more episodes for season 2 because we were doing like 13 episodes for one season, and then we'd take a break, and then season 2 was going to be another 13. I shot 7 episodes, and to be honest, the overhead was just racking up. Like, when you go into YouTube is such a long commitment. Like, going on Instagram or TikTok or something, you can become quote unquote successful and make money from it pretty quickly. However, with YouTube, it takes a lot longer to grow that community and grow that audience. And so I think that I just went too hands off with it in terms of the videography, the editing. And it was just like coming up to where every episode was costing like 5 figures. And I decided that I could better use my money and my time on the show for the point I was at. And so yeah, that's why I haven't continued it. I have episodes in the bank, and I don't know if I ever will like restart it. Maybe we'll get those 7 episodes edited and still share them. I kind of have that like shiny object syndrome, which has plagued me, but the one thing that's been consistent is like the social media with the coffee. Like, that's never gone anywhere, but I've tried all these different things. And I have zero regrets about it. But yeah, just for where I'm at right now and the growth that I'm trying to achieve, the show was not making sense. And so that's kind of why we discontinued it.
You mentioned growth that you're trying to achieve. What does that look like?
Honestly, right now, I'm starting to feel like I did when I initially started my page and started my journey on social media, which was just finding so much fulfillment in creating in the process. And over these last 10 years, I've gone through not realizing you could make money from social media, realizing it, and then going like losing myself in that fact, and then like feeling just kind of empty, like a void, and just doing it because I have this asset in front of me, I can't let it die. To where the first half of this year, I was still in that mode of, what am I doing? Like, I have this massively successful page or business or whatever you want to call it, but I don't really know where I want to go with it. And so finally in May, something clicked where I felt inspired to make one video. And then that video, it was where I just showed my personality in it again. And to see, not that I needed the validation from an outside source, but to see that people still felt related to who I am, it was like, oh yeah, that's what it felt like to just create with no thoughts of how I'm going to be perceived, no thoughts of am I going to say the right phrasing, the right sequencing, is this edit going to come out perfectly? And so the last few months, the growth has been connecting back to my original source of inspiration and what I do in this creation journey. And that's just helping people and just sharing myself with the world. And as I'm creating more content, I'm starting to feel like more comfortable and confident about sharing my story again, the way I used to. And so, yeah, that's what growth looks for me right now. And like I said, I just do stuff. Like, I just do it. Like, it feels good, and I know I need to lean into it. And so I'm just going to continue to do so. You said you want people to know that you can rebuild and start over no matter your age. What has starting over looked like in your own life? How have you rebuilt? That's a great question. So I'm 33, and I feel like I've lived many more years than that. I guess a great thing to touch on was like going completely broke and having my car be repossessed, and then still finding, I was 23 when that happened. And so, I mean, I talk to people that are like that age now, and they feel so much pressure to know what they're going to do and to like need to have a plan and need to have a career plan and have all these things. When time, a lot of people just view time as the enemy. And my core belief is that time is on your side if you're able to be present. But starting over in my own life, I wouldn't say that it has been massive, momentous events or these huge catalysts. I mean, to me, they've been huge, but to the outside world, it may not be so huge. Like for one, it's taking my health more seriously. It was like rebuilding for me because I'm 33 now, and I'm in the best physical shape I've ever been, even better than when I was like 23, 24, 25. So it feels like I've rebuilt my health in my early 30s. And like, it's hard to put it in perspective for someone that is a little bit younger, just how much energy you still have and how great about life you're still gonna feel. I think just because we see in movies and TV shows, like people in their 30s, oftentimes they are not active anymore. They're just like living a sedentary, like, oh man, I'm getting old. And I hate when people, like, I hate the word old. Like, I really do. I hate when people say, oh man, I'm getting old. Like, I can't do this because I'm getting older or whatever. And I mean, if you just take care of your body, you can do whatever you want up until the day you die, essentially. And so starting over doesn't, like I mentioned, it doesn't always have to be some massive like moment. It can be something as simple as like taking your mental health more seriously. But I guess that would be another thing to touch on, is that like 5 years ago, I went to therapy I had not ever gone to therapy probably since a child, but I decided to go to therapy. And it was this very systematic therapy called EMDR. It's eye movement desensitization. I forget what the I or the R stands for, but essentially it's like using both sides of your brain to rewire trauma. And so that was me rebuilding. That was a moment where, like, going back and sitting with my childhood self to rebuild my adult thought patterns and beliefs about myself, about life, about the experiences that I've been through. That would probably be one of the most significant starting over or rebuilding moments in my own life. And that didn't happen until I was like 29. And so that's what I mean when I say that I want people to know that you can figure things out at any point in your life. Doesn't matter if you're in your 30s, 20s, your 40s, whatever. And I'm sure that people that are older than me, that are in their 40s or 50s, can attest to the same thing. And so, yeah, that is what starting over has looked like in my own life. If your younger self was here with us right now, what would you say to him? Honestly, I'd say the first thing that was on that note card, which was have fun and be yourself. Like, I think that I figured out how to be myself exactly when I was supposed to, but I think that the earlier you accept that and like really believe that yourself is awesome and you just be yourself and have fun, I think that the longer life you'll live, the more life you'll live. And so that's what I would say to him. Just be yourself. What is my vision for my future self? That's a tricky one for me, just because I'm not that I'm not good at thinking about the future, but I'm just like I feel like I've already mentioned this like 3 or 4 times. I just do. Like, I just do what feels good. And a lot of times I don't think about the repercussions, whether good or bad. And I have been trying to do a little more future thinking as of late. So my vision for my future self, I mean, there's so many different areas. Honestly, it's just continuing to experience all I can, to love others, just to be a good person. If I were to get into specifics of like where I would want to live, like what my life looked like with my partner, if I was having children, those are all things that like I have not been super intentional about planning or envisioning until recently. And so while I can be like, okay, I envision myself potentially having like 1 or 2 kids and like having a house with some land and some goats and some chickens and horses and a stable, uh, and having like a barn dominium with a gym in it and my cars in it, etc. I haven't got that nailed down to a T. And I just struggle with that because I don't know if I'm supposed to have it nailed down to a T. I think it's just good for me to have an overall idea of what that's going to look like. But I'm just like such a strong believer that if you're doing what feels good and what you know is right, like deep inside, that your life is going to play out exactly as it should. And maybe that's like the type B, maybe that's like the creative in me speaking, and I feel like that takes over. But um, I don't know. That is just like how I feel called to live. What is the biggest lesson life is teaching you right now? I think the biggest lesson life is teaching me right now is to just live inspired, to know your lane and live in that lane and pour into yourself. Because when you pour into yourself with all you have, it fills you up in ways that you don't realize are possible. And that pours into others in ways that you don't realize are possible. And I mean, I couldn't give you specifics on what you should do, but for me, it's like waking up in the morning, like waking up in the morning, brushing my teeth, and taking my dogs out for a walk and like catching the morning sun. That simple thing like fills my soul with so much energy that I can go the rest of my day like feeling like I've accomplished everything I need to. So right now, the biggest lesson life is teaching me, I would say, is pour into yourself so that you can pour into everything else. What am I learning to love about myself? I think that I'm learning to love that I am very creative. It's just, it's so weird to just take perspective on who you are sometimes. And it's been seen as like a flaw in relationships, whether romantic or not. Like that, the fact that I do what makes me feel good and I do what makes me feel inspired is a superpower for me. And it's not something to like push down. And I think all through my childhood, my adolescence, my early adulthood, even as I grew with this content creation stuff, I still like kept it suppressed in a way. And as I've learned to pour into myself and just be myself, I have realized that I love how creative I am, that I love how my brain works. And even though it may not make sense to everyone, it may be frustrating for some people, that it ultimately leads me to the most fulfilling, happy, and peaceful version of myself. How has it felt to be seen in this way today? Honestly, it just feels quiet, which to me is peace. When I feel nothing, I have zero negative intention with which I say that. But to me, feeling nothing is feeling everything. And throughout this whole interview, per se, I've felt emotions and things, but also I've just felt very calm and at peace. And so, how has it felt to be seen in this way today? It's felt great. It's felt like I've been like laying in a float pod or something like that. And um, I just feel calm and empty in the best way. Biggest takeaway from our time together. Honestly, it's just, I think the biggest takeaway was when I was reflecting on all the chapters I've been through. I mean, I've talked about some of that stuff plenty of times, but I think with the space that you've created and the space you're holding, for whatever reason, it allowed that to flow out, and it allowed me to take perspective in a different way. And obviously, I got like kind of emotional during that time. Like I know that I'm a strong person, but reflecting just in those couple minutes on all the different chapters of life that I've gone through, it made me realize, even though I didn't share all the intricacies, it made me realize just how rooted I am and how true to myself that I've always stayed, no matter what has happened. So I'm very grateful for the space that you've created and the space that you're holding in this interview. Just and the safety that I felt to even allow that emotion to, enter my consciousness.
I'm happy that I could provide that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Honestly, those are pretty much my final thoughts. It's been really cool. It's a very unique way of interviewing, and I had zero idea what to expect. That's the way I love to go into things, is to just have no expectations. Like that's going to allow the best things to happen. And so this has been really, really cool. Super grateful for Nick for telling you, like just shouting my name out there so you could message me. And super grateful for the message and that you're here in Austin and that I could be a guest on your show.